Research shows that at least 5 billion people globally own a mobile phone or some form of mobile device. Even though these devices and the underlying technology are primarily meant to facilitate communication between people, they have increasingly taken on a new role in our lives as tools to capture, process, and distribute our stories. This new functionality has excited many, especially those that view storytelling as an important form of communication and human expression. Others say that this is more than just shooting a video on your device. They argue that this technology and its capacity to capture and transmit some form of short video content presents an opportunity for people in societies that have often complained of a systematic misrepresentation of their narratives. Now, they can tell their own stories without having to buy expensive equipment or having to go through, quote, the traditional gatekeepers of information. And for the past 3 years, Smart Film Festival, a global platform, was created specifically to curate and showcase these stories, has been taking place here in Washington, D.C. The festival curator and co-founder Thomas DeBass says that he was interested in creating a platform that focuses on how mobile technologies are democratizing the storytelling process.
Phenomenal. Smart Film Festival is a relatively new, unique film festival in the DC area. It's actually the entire East Coast. It focuses around short films that are made entirely on our smartphones. Why we call them a smart film festival is because they are entirely made on a mobile device or smartphone. So it celebrates and showcases talent about the democratization of filmmaking, because you no longer need big budget, expensive cameras and things like that to tell your story. If you got a phone, whether it's Android or whether it's Apple, whatever, you can take that out of your pocket and just tell your story. And we celebrate those things. It's a global one, and it's
How long have you been doing it?
This is our third year.
The third year.
Yep.
What are some of the changes you've seen in the last couple of years in terms of the entrance or the entries that you've been receiving?
Yeah, so every year gets better, right? In terms of the kind of talent that you see. We get overwhelmed by submissions. Like this year, we got nearly almost 1,000 submissions from over 85 countries.
1,000?
1,000.
And you have to weed out how many?
This year was 49, so we picked 49. And 49 was not a cute number. We just couldn't decide. There were too many. If we had the time, it would have been 100 something.
Right.
There's so many good films.
How do you choose 49 films out of 1,000? How many hours is that for you sitting and watching?
It is like literally days in some cases.
And you have to watch each movie and rate it.
I've been one of the reviewers. So essentially the process of we have volunteer reviewers around the world. We recruit and they view it in tranches. And then they score them. And based on the feedback that they've given us, and then we bring it down. Myself and the executive producer just kind of puts it together.
And what's the submission process like? Who?
It's quite easy. The filmfreeway.com is the media platform for film festivals. We use that, and it makes it very easy to filter and things like that. It's an awesome platform. And we get essentially, our parameters are from 1 minute to 15 minutes.
Okay.
But the average in our case would be 6-7 minutes in terms of the length of the films.
And then so you get the submissions over the year, the course of the year?
Yeah, we started in September and we close sometime in December. So about 3-4 month window to get these films. And the key, the hardest thing for us is, as you've said, is the talent is so huge. And some of them are 1 minute, and then you've got to view some of them.
Yes.
And 1 minute might feel like 100 minutes because they're loaded.
Right.
And to see that
the thing about a short film is that you have to be able to pack it with...
Exactly. Condense everything that you need to see in some kind of a condensed scene. And just seeing that and the talent of doing that with limited budget. One of the things we get to see behind the scene is we ask questions about budget. Like, how much did it cost you? Some of them like $20, $100, $200. It's just that is what gives us goosebumps to see how democratizing this smartphone has become to the filmmaker.
Is that kind of data useful to you in making the decisions on who wins or who loses?
No, I think we use analytical data to actually get the validity we need to actually make the case that it's actually being democratized because the cost is low. But we don't use that as a proxy to say this one costs $1,000, this one we should give it more weight. Because at the end, the merit of the film, what is tried to say, the kind of the substance has to drive that versus what cost.
What does a winning short film look like for smart film? Like, for example, let's talk about this year.
Yes, and this year, the beauty of it being in your show is that for the last 2 years, our submissions from Africa has been very limited. I can actually count them. So we've been trying to push a little more proactively this year, and we got a little more than last year. But the top film for the fiction category and the grand prize, what we call the Hall of Fame, went to a Nigerian film called Takumbo, which is about 12 minutes, a little longer than the other ones. But it is emotionally engrossing film.
We will get to Takumbo, but let's talk about how you categorize these movies. What are some of the categories?
So the categories, so there are documentary, music videos, experimental, and emerging talent, which is youth. This year we introduced horror, because our fiction category just gets significant amount of it. So we had a lot of horror movies in that genre, so we created a whole new category called horror. So it's horror and then fiction. So that's the kind of the category that we...
And what was the average length of the movies that were submitted this year?
Yeah, I mean, the average is always 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
More or less 6 minutes. And I think, but majority of the films this year has been 1 minute, almost precisely to the dot of 1 minute.
And why did you choose Takumbo? What was it about this movie, Takumbo, that...
I think I was not one of the judges, but you were.
I was one of the judges, yes.
I should be flipping the question to you in a sense. But,
right.
And I think based on the rankings that we saw, that it is this film that is entirely made on, I think it was on a Samsung S9 phone. It was entirely shot on a car. And the story of how this car has this loaded story. If a car can speak, and that's the way I view it. The stories that it can tell is the way I kind of viewed it. And it's the entire 12 minutes is about this gentleman who goes through a date. And I don't want to...
What is it with you guys? Just keep drooling over her. Everybody just fetching, looking for a space to just
No, come on. It was just gist. Like, she's just that girl at the office who makes everybody laugh all the time.
Well, since I'm being made to look like the bad person, it's fine. Let's just go. Let's go.
What do the submissions, at least the number of submissions that come from each country, tell you about the level of access to technology that people have in that country?
Yeah, I mean, I think the robustness of the ecosystem, first of all, the creative industry, and the other element of it is how agile that industry is. Because what this showed you is the agility that you need to have to essentially make your films. And I think that's what it showcased. But it's still, in a sense, the number of films that we receive are still dominantly from the US, Canada, UK, and Italy and all that. And we get a lot from India and some parts of Africa and others.
Right.
And our hope obviously is that, this smartphone has democratized a lot in Africa,
right,
including M-Pesa in Kenya,
absolutely.
and financial industries. What we hope is that this will now do what
the digital divide starts to shrink,
exactly.
more submissions will come from
and
the African continent.
Amazing tools. And one of our sponsors this year was Lumatouch, which essentially they make an app that essentially you can not only shoot the film, but edit, mix it, finish it entirely on your iPad or on these phones. And again, you don't even need a computer. You can do all that thing in your device by creating these apps that cost $9, $10, $12.
What does this mean for the future of stories coming out of Africa, or of African storytelling in general? Because for many years people have complained that the African story, the African narrative has been told through the lens of foreigners, and that's mostly because they have the resources and the equipment to be able to tell these stories. Yeah. What does the proliferation of mobile technology mean for storytelling on the African continent?
To me, it's democratization, right? Like, it not only empowers people to do so, but it takes the excuse from not having enough resources, not having the connections and what have you. Because you have platforms right now, you can shoot a film, put it on YouTube, and you're done. Or send it to us, we'll put it on our platform. So I think what this to me is, it shows you how bright the future is from a storytelling perspective, is that the tools, the critical tool you need to capture, to shoot your film, is now literally in your pocket. So therefore, you need to just then perfect your story, craft your trade in terms of how you want to shoot it, what kind of narrative you want to tell. That's what you need to focus on, rather than can I afford, buying equipment or renting an equipment, because the equipment is literally in your pocket. So I think that's really the whole reason we are doing this festival is for that reason.
Absolutely. My next question was really, what was your intention?
That is it. I mean,
yes.
we didn't discover a film festival. It's been around for ages. What we discovered was that we saw a phenomena that this
devices,
revolution,
the technology,
this movement
yes.
that is doing it to the filmmaking. Because the filmmaking in the Hollywood, that kind of complex, is a very elite thing. And if this thing could do what Uber did to the transportation industry, what Airbnb did to hospitality, and we hope this, what I call mobile wood, might do that to Hollywood in a sense, and then empowers, be there in Rwanda or in Ghana or Guatemala, whatever they might be, they're able to tell the stories. And we've seen what they could do because the festival showcases that.
Absolutely.
Because we see these films from all parts of the world where nothing is a barrier. Even language is not a barrier. You could put subtitles, and boom, I can understand what they're talking about.
And I know you put limits on how long of the movie is, because it's a short film festival.
Yes.
But you also put an age limit on who can submit a movie.
And we don't discriminate, because that's the whole point of inclusivity. The only thing that we have is on the youth category, it's less than 25 years old, and this year's winner is the movie Screen Age. That was shot by, I think it's a high school.
Let's roll.
A call out of San Francisco.
Wow.
Was the winner of it. It's about, the addiction of smartphones. It's amazing. He made a film on a smartphone about the addiction of the smartphone. Which is quite ironic. But it's a very young gentleman. And you saw his speech on the video, what he was talking about. And you could tell he has the eyes for it. So the youth category is less than 25, but everything else, it's your merit and talent that showcases, not how old you are, what gender you are, and what have you. There is one called On Breath. It was a shot in Turkey. It was about a Syrian doctor who was homeless, and he saves this gentleman.
I remember that one.
It's less. I think it's like a minute or so, but it tells you the kind of story of an immigrant.
Since this is a global festival,
Yes.
are you planning to take it on the road at any point?
Yes, we did. I mean, actually, we had New Orleans, a friend of ours, did screen these films at the same time as we were watching it in Virginia. So we have interest. We've got interest from Nairobi, Maputo, Addis, and in other cities who want to screen their versions. But then we encourage that. We're an open source, and I think we want to maximize, again, these filmmakers did not submit these films to make money. Film festivals are not about making money. It's about showcasing your talent. And we want to spread that love for them. And anyone who's out there says, I want to do that, they're already being streamed. If you want to just put a meetup and say, come, let's watch it together and get some popcorns or whatever you are enjoying to eat, watching them, do that. So that's a key thing. Watch as much as you can and spread the news, but most importantly, be inspired. Take out that phone and tell your story.
Do we see a future where Hollywood is being threatened by mobile technology?
I don't know about threatened, but I think it's already embracing it. I don't know, if you recall the movie Tangerine, that got nominated for the Oscars, was entirely shot on iPhone. So it is embracing it. It's the kind of the way of the future. So there are some filmmakers, very prominent one, Hollywood filmmakers, who now use this as their primary camera. So it's really not about the threat element of it. Inclusivity does not mean someone has to lose. Now
we're going
to be more richer because we get more stories to tell. So we never got into it to displace anybody.
I'm just saying that since it's all about the bottom line, if they feel you're coming for their market share.
No, and I think you're getting more audience now, right? Because the kind of audiences that this might attract might not be the same as the other ones. But I think, in my personal opinion, I think it just democratizing your filmmaking will allow more stories to tell. And my hope is for these filmmakers, if these short films, because some of them you look at it and say, this could be a feature film, you can expand that. So my hope is someone discovers them and say, you know what, let's take that film and expand it to a feature film, whatever. That would be the promised land for the filmmakers. For us, is we just want to showcase these things if 1 or 2, 3, 4 people get inspired by that, and the next year or that in the 2 years, if we get their submissions, every effort that we've made, this is a passion project for all of us,
right?
Is that then the passion is worth it, because now we've nudged somebody who would have want to tell a story. Now they got this tool to make that. That makes it beautiful.
Yeah. Thomas DeBas, thank you very much for talking to us about Smart Film. Tell the people where to find the movies, the films.
I think that folks who want to watch this film, and I encourage everybody to watch it, because if you have 2.5 hours of your time to spend it, you can watch literally 49 films, and you'll be overwhelmed, frankly, by the emotions that you're going to see, by how simple they are, but how powerful they are. So you can go to smartfilm.com/TV. You watch all of it there, and you'll enjoy them. But what I want to emphasize is we want to get their films. So once you get inspired by these things, especially we want to increase significantly the submissions that we get from Africa.
From Africa, yes.
Especially from young people who have a lot of stories to tell. We know they have a smartphone. We know the cameras on these smartphones are very powerful. And there are apps that you can get, free apps that they can get. Some of them are already preloaded inside of it. We want to get their stories. So if they can shoot a 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4, 5 minutes videos, films, please submit it to Smart Film.
Mr. DeBas, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being
Absolutely,
host.
absolutely.